your car too.
Let's go with the green flag. Is that a Supra? Who did it? Come on. Dead white.
Hello, we are again working on this 2015 Malibu. We already tried the speed sensor on this left front corner and it didn't fix the problem, so we've got to assume it's the hub with the magnet on the back of the ring, on the back of the hub ring or whatever. I'm hoping this goes smoother than it did when I was working on my Mazda because I had to replace the whole front end. I do have a hub puller, try to push the axle out. The basics of this is, and I've already jacked the car up, I don't film that stuff, put it on a jack stand, you're going to be hammering on it. The first thing we've got to do is remove the hub nut, and that is 32 millimeter. Put the impact on it and get it off. Then we've got to remove our little Torx fella. It's a T30. Got to back that little fella out there. And then I believe these are 18 millimeter back here. I think probably bigger than that now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, this probably maybe like a 19 or something. We're gonna have to go bigger to get our brake caliper off. And there's two of these. There's one here. And there's that one right down there. Got to remove that. We're gonna pull this brake line up out of here. It's just a rubber grommet. You can really probably do it by hand. I'm not gonna rip on it with one hand. And want to remove our wheel speed sensor down here. We just replaced this. We don't want to break it. It's just a 10 millimeter bolt. We're going to remove that and get it out of the way. Removing the Torx gets the rotor off, and these two bolts back here for the caliper and caliper bracket. We're just going to remove all that as one unit, and I'm going to hang it up here on this hanger from the spring to get it out of the way. You don't want to let it just sit on your brake line. That's bad for everything. You can break a line, kink something, rip something, etc. That's what we're going to do first. This is what we're going to be replacing it with. I did get a Moog. Been trying to do just a good part instead of saving a few bucks here and there. This is what we're going to be putting on. And I'll show you what we suspect is bad is this magnetic ring that goes around here on the back of the hub. Eventually gets nasty and bad and it quits reading wheel speed, and you get to service your StabiliTrak code, and it's an ABS code and everything else. So that's what we're going for now. Put him back in there. Nothing happened to that. I get everything from Rock Auto. If anybody actually goes anywhere other than that, get your part number if I can find one for you. There you go. Get that out of the way. I'm going to get my impact going and remove this nut, that bolt, and these two bolts for the brake caliper and bracket, and get that out of the way. And then we can start to see what we're looking at with the hub and pressing the axle out and everything else. These bolts that went into the back of the caliper are 13/16, just using an end wrench to get those off. Here's pretty much where we stand. That locking nut came off the hub pretty easy, or off the axle pretty easy. Caliper's hanging up like we discussed. That's pretty easy. The sensor, don't forget to take out your wheel speed sensor. I just let it hang back there. It's currently out of the way. A lot of people take the knuckle loose, or spindle, whatever you want to call it, the knuckle loose from the strut and lean it out to get to everything back here. I'm going to try to not do that. I need to go get my wheel hub puller and put it on here and see if the axle is going to be loose on there. All the other things I've seen, that axle doesn't seem to be nearly as seized in these cars as it was in my Mazda, so hopefully the axle will come out of the hub easy enough. The only other three bolts we need to remove, you can see the ends of them here. There's one there. There's one Jeez, I don't even know if I can. There's one right here, and there's one here. To remove these, the more I'm looking at this, we probably are going to have to take the knuckle loose from the strut just to get the axle out. I don't know if we can do that, getting the axle out with it in here. I don't know how to get those bolts out with the axle going in there, unless it's just loose and it can. Fucking look at that, it is loose up in there. Let me try to get a socket on that, or a wrench. Those are 18mm, and I do not have an end wrench for that. Let me see if I can get a socket on there and get these three out. This one up here is going to be a bitch to get to that, but maybe with an extension, I don't know. Probably will be easiest just to knock these two bolts loose up here, because what we're going to have to end up doing is getting a sludge and beating on the back of the hub here to actually get it knocked out of the knuckle. So let me get started on it and see what I come up with, and I'll cut back to that. You're shit not gonna believe this, because I sure shit don't believe this, but wow, it just fucking came out. I can't believe it. Power of prayer and all, I guess. I wish it was that easy on everything I've ever touched. It literally fell off of there. It wasn't pressed in, it wasn't anything. It just came right out. And you can see clearly this is the problem. Magnetic ring is just broke. Yeah, see that? Straight up broke. So that explains the problem that the wife's been having with this car. Probably will save this hub, you never know. End of the world and all. Might need it, the bearing was still good in it. But set that aside. Probably gonna wire brush this, you're gonna want to clean it up. Don't lose anything. I'm gonna leave that bolt on there to hang everything back on. Probably not a bad idea to put some anti-seize, never seize, whatever your product of choice is. After you get this cleaned up, put some on this part of your hub where it gets stuck in, and I'd say you might want to put some on here, but I don't even know if you need to. Anyway, so I'm gonna get this all cleaned up, get the new part out, have a celebratory drink that for the first time in my life something came off the way it's supposed to. I did not touch the strut in the top of the knuckle. The axle was loose enough where you could pull it back, and my socket and everything went just right up against the axle and just barely fits. It is a thinner wall socket, but you did not have to take this off, and I just did it with a ratchet, so you don't need air or anything like that. I did use my cheater pipe, but if you're stronger than me, you can probably get it with just your 1/2-inch ratchet. Alright, let me get that cleaned up and start installing the new stuff and get some torque specs. Alright, once you get this all cleaned up and looking pretty, I'm just putting this nut back on here so it's a bit out of the way for me. Once you get this put back on here, make sure you get your brake dust shield, whatever, brake shield, whatever you want to call it, put back on and aligned correctly. The cutout needs to be the relief for your caliper bracket bolts. So these 3 hub to knuckle bolts are 85 foot-pounds. Got the torque wrench out. I'm going to torque those 3 down. Then we're going to put the rotor and brakes back on. Okay, we torqued the hub bolts back down. Like I said, 85 foot-pounds. Threw the rotor on. This little Torx, since it's just holding the rotor on, I just put it on with my little 1/4-inch ratchet and gave her one of these. Felt tight enough. It doesn't need to be too tight, it's just holding the rotor on. For the caliper, I've got it hung on, I haven't torqued them yet. These are 96 foot-pounds, both of them. Got the torque wrench set, gonna torque those down right now. If you hung your brake caliper up like I did, don't forget to, maybe your brain will work better than mine. Don't forget to remove your hanger. Let's torque these down, and next will be this, and this is 159 foot-pounds. So probably going to take the torque wrench up to the max at 150 and then put the impact on it and see if we can get it to move at all. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, mostly wrapped up. Like I said, the 3 bolts for the hub were 85 foot-pounds. These were 96. These two, this one here and that one right there, 96 foot-pounds. That's 159. I went up to 150 on my torque wrench and clicked her a couple of times and put the impact on it for 5 or 6 seconds to give it a final oomph. But I don't think my impact would over torque it, so I'm not too concerned about that. Don't forget that little bolt down there, and don't forget to put your wheel speed sensor back in. This is 10mm bolt. I just want it tight enough with the 1/4 inch ratchet. That's pretty much it for this. I need to hook my computer back up to it and delete the codes. Hopefully we don't have an ongoing problem. That magnet was definitely bad. I'm hoping that this solves it and this car's good to go for a while now. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope it helped.
Come on, boss! Come on! Yeah!